Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome back to What's the 411 with Jay. Oh, I'm trying to get together here. I've got a lot of stuff to show you guys tonight. But first, I want to welcome everybody to chat. Angie B and Incognito Potato. I can't even say your name unless I use a fake accent. We got Potato and Angie B. And does it look like Shell's here yet? Shell is here. Shell was the first one here. Welcome, you guys. Thanks for being moderators tonight. I know, guys. They keep coming back. I don't know why, but I'm just kidding. Bless you guys for what you do. Brookie, how are you? And Mandy. Oh, Mandy. Well, you came and... Oh, sorry. Kip Dynamite? Where's Kip Dynamite? Grandma just called and said you're supposed to go home. Mike Sanner is in the house. Mike Sanner, how you doing? Are you feeling better? Hope everybody is feeling better. Tomorrow is Monday, and tomorrow we start the Valo trial jury selection. So that ought to be interesting, right? But we have another, I don't even want to say snafu because you can't call it a snafu. And we're going to open up the phone lines in just a second. But first, we're going to watch this video, guys. It seems that maybe we have another problem in Moscow with this investigation. Now, Howard Blum is a very... seasoned author who has been around for quite some time and has a very good reputation. He's written, I think, 3 parts on this on Airmail, and I'm sure a lot of you have read it. Now, the latest, he came out and he before this, he came out and he said, that the FBI had been following Kohberger and lost Kohberger. And the FBI or the authorities came out and said, no, that's not true. We were not following him, yada, yada, yada. The stops were not planned, all that stuff. Well, Mr. Blum was on was doing an interview, and he said, well, that's not what my source in the FBI told me. And he said, I've known my source for some time. I mean, this isn't verbatim, but you get the gist. He trusts his FBI source, and he's like, I'm telling you, they lost him, So that didn't end there. And he has said in his writings and in his interviews that he's done that he has put his own feelers out there and talked to people. So, for example, he's the one, I think, I may not want to say that, but I think it might have been him that said that Brian went to the Mad Greek. I'm not sure if that was Blum, but I can tell you what, this is Blum, and it sounds like there might be a problem with the knife sheath. Questions are arising about the knife sheath authorities found at the scene of the Idaho quadruple murders, which allegedly had suspect Brian Kohberger's DNA. Brian Enton and Howard Blum discuss how it was tested. Have you guys seen this? Put a 1 in the chat if you've seen it. Put a 2 in the chat if you haven't and you're like, oh my God. That's right. He actually left Vanity Fair and started his own thing. Me too, Howard. Wait, hold on. I just figured that out, potato. I just done figured out that you can't hear. Hold on. Let's try that again. He had a lot to say. You just couldn't hear it.
Not the only potential problem for the prosecution right now. There are new questions about the knife sheath and where it was sent to be tested. My next guest has new information on that. Joining us now is journalist and best-selling author Howard Bloom, who has worked for the New York Times and Vanity Fair. He is currently writing a book about Bryan Kohberger and covering the case for Air Mail News. Thank you so much for coming on, Howard. I'm a big fan of your recent articles on the case. Appreciate you taking the time tonight. I want to talk about the testing of this knife sheath and what you have learned about it.
Well, as you pointed out earlier, the police were all along moving forward, even though we in the media, the public, didn't know what was happening. And they were focusing on Bryan Kohberger. But they couldn't completely make the case so they could issue an arrest warrant. What they did is they had the knife sheath, and they had on the button of the knife sheath, they had touch DNA. And they had no way to tie that to Kohberger. And the Idaho lab came up with this idea of using a separate lab in Texas. This lab...
What? Do you hear this? They sent it to another lab.
Specialized in proprietary devices that made what is called kinship DNA. You could figure out a relative of the DNA that you already had. And this lab was set up to investigate unsolved murders. It was backed by some Silicon Valley venture capitalists. It was a never before used in a present case, just only in cold cases.
What?
So let me just interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt you, but you're saying this lab that they...
Wait. Hold on a second. I've got to listen to this part again. Okay, let's listen to Howard again.
Earlier, the police were all along moving forward, even though we in the media, the public, didn't know what was happening. And they were focusing on Bryan Kohberger. But they couldn't completely make the case so they could issue an arrest warrant. What they did is they had the knife sheath, and they had on the button of the knife sheath, they had touch DNA, and they had no way to tie that to Kohberger. And the Idaho lab came up with this idea of using a separate lab in Texas. This lab had specialized in proprietary devices that made what is called kinship DNA. You could figure out a relative of the DNA that you already had. And this lab was set up to investigate unsolved murders. It was backed by some Silicon Valley venture capitalists. It was a never before used in
Silicon Valley backed
in a present case, just only in cold cases.
So let me just interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt you, but you're saying this lab that they sent the knife sheath to has never been used before except in cold cases?
Yes, this was the first time they were willing to take a chance. They wanted desperately to make an arrest. They wanted desperately to tie the suspect to this knife sheath. So meanwhile, in Pennsylvania, they gathered, they had that midnight garbage run.
Right.
They picked up garbage that was the father's DNA. They could then send that to the lab, tie it to the knife sheath, and they could make this kinship. And now they could say within 0.99.9% positive.
Right. Okay, that's where the clip
We're learning
ends.
that's not the only potential problem.
Okay, I know you guys don't trust News Nation. I do not either. And if this was Brian Enton sitting there saying, "I have an anonymous source," but I don't think that this Howard Bloom is going to put himself out there and tell lies. Why would he do that?
Did I ask them to do that?
So just another thing to add to the list of what it could be. I mean, it's just crazy, guys. We're dealing with some corruptness in Moscow, Idaho, and I think that the police department, it runs deep. It runs deep. So let's read through this, and then I'm going to open up the lines and take your calls because I want to get your thoughts, and I will continue sharing the different things that I found during the live as we take calls. Chick Antique says Blum is a former New York Times writer. He left when they got shady. He's legit. So, I mean, depending on what you believe, I don't think he's going to put himself out there like that. I don't. But this is very worrisome, knowing what we know, and then plus this. So this is Stickergate. Stickergate. And that is probably why, yes, you're right. That is why they did not include the DNA in their PCA or their warrant, rather, in Washington. Because remember in Washington, when they searched Brian Kohberger's apartment, they said, now, when you give us this warrant, don't take the DNA into consideration. And we were all like, what? Why would they say that? Well, maybe that's why. Because they sent it off and they did something they've never done before. And they took the only evidence they may have had with his DNA. I don't know. All right. So let's get into this article. This is the meat and potatoes. Moscow PD buries evidence in sticker case for more than a year. Now, this is where we should be worried. Rory and Seamus. Now, that's really someone's first name. Someone really named their child Seamus. And this is we've been hearing all along about the Christchurch. Jay, look into the Christchurch. Well, this is probably what these people that live around there have been talking about the whole time. So it seems that Nathan Wilson is a member of the Christchurch, and they were doing a psalm sing. Oh, it's Seamus. But it doesn't look like that. It looks like Seamus. Seamus. So, anyway, they are at the church, whatever. They're doing this psalm thing during COVID, and they're supposed to be wearing masks, and they're not supposed to be within 6 feet of each other, or whatever the hell it was. And they were. So a couple kids got arrested because they were putting these stickers on poles and such, around there. So anyways, let's read through this. The video evidence was released by Moscow police. This is October of 2021. By Moscow police. And it involved testimony under oath at this hearing. The hearing was to determine the legality of the initial interrogation of the Wilson boys by Moscow PD back in October of 2020. Cammy Q, you are so on the same page as me. I was like, oh my gosh, Gunderson has his own sticker book. Just like Lisa Frank books. Hold on. Okay. So before the hearing and going under oath, an MPD officer notified prosecutors that video evidence did in fact exist on the night of the sticker incident. So they were looking for, body cam footage to clear these guys, these two teens, I believe 19 and 14 at the time. Okay. And the stickers, I'm going to show you. Hold on. We're going to get another window open so I can show ya some of these photos that go along with this. All right, so that's the sticker. Okay. It says Soviet Moscow enforced because we care. So these people were sick of the mandates. Okay. They were protesting mandates. We're going to look at Gunderson's sticker book in just a second as well. All right, so let's finish this article. Sergeant Gunderson. Now, I'm going to remind you, he was the first one on the scene in the PCA. Or, I don't think he was even mentioned in the PCA, actually. He was mentioned by Howard Blum. That's how we know that Sergeant Gunderson was one of the first ones on the scene at 1122 King Road. He was on desk duty. He was in the brand new multi-million-dollar Moscow Police Department. Howard Blum read it in depth, or talked about it in depth, that he was sitting at the desk. He described the police department. He got the dispatch call, and instead of, just letting the officers that were out being patrolled in, he got up and he went to 1122 King Road himself. And the police department is, we know, only a matter of minutes away from the house. So Sergeant Gunderson was also one of the first MPD officers on the scene the night in question. Notified prosecutors that Officer Waters, now this is Jay Waters, who had been the responsible officer on the scene, captured video of the incident with his squad car's dash cam. A year later, Gunderson said the footage was in MPD's system and that it had been in MPD's system from the very beginning of the case. The footage had been illegally held back from the defense by MPD in the normal course of discovery. Despite public record requests, it had still been held back by MPD. Even when a subpoena was issued in January, it was still held back illegally by MPD. More than a year now has passed since Moscow City prosecutors and Latah County made history by filing the city's first ever criminal charges against someone for posting a sign or a flyer on a pole without permission. Thousands of signs and flyers and stickers have been posted on poles in the city before and since this incident. This incident happened in October of 2020 when the memorable red stickers that provoked prosecution read Soviet Moscow enforced because we care. In response, City Attorney Liz Warner filed 13 misdemeanor charges against Nathan Wilson and his son Rory. And the Latah County prosecutors followed the city's lead in filing against the juvenile defendant, now identified as Seamus Wilson. Shame on you, Seamus. MPD officers stopped the Wilson boys under suspicion of placing the non-damaging stickers on poles in downtown Moscow. In the politically charged case that has become known to some locals as Stickergate, one significant issue has been between the defense and prosecution over whether prosecutors were illegally refusing or simply unable to provide the defense with any video or audio evidence of the evening when officers stopped the Wilson boys. The debate about the video has been settled by the MPD admitting that the evidence exists. Video and audio evidence surrounding the night is crucial because Rory Wilson was cuffed and interrogated without receiving a Miranda warning. And Seamus was separated from his adult brother and interrogated. Before and after he identified himself as a juvenile, without receiving a Miranda warning and without a lawyer or a guardian present. What exactly was asked and said, the length of time the boys were interrogated, and Rory's behavior before being cuffed and put on the ground are all key questions. Nathan Wilson was at home asleep at the time. The dad was at home asleep while his boys were out getting accused of putting those stickers on. You guys scratch and sniff. You guys crack me up. But he was at home asleep, and now he's charged. And then he gets charged. He wasn't even there. How do they do that? And after an anonymous video making fun of Moscow PD for burying evidence in this case appeared on Facebook, defense received a different MPD video of the citations being issued days after the fact, but the video of the initial incident was not released. What? I need a what for that?
What?
This is the anonymous video making fun of MPD bearing evidence from enforcebecauseWeCare.com. MPD officers have now acknowledged under oath that the second video had been tagged and stored in the same case file immediately next to the video file they had been withholding, and that they continued to withhold it until just last week. Let's watch this video. Let's see what it is. It's only a minute and a half. Long live the motherland. It's funny. Look. Look, they circle their body cam.
Cares more about stickers than we do.
Oh my God. What? It is. It's a Fortnite. Oh man. I think this might be. In all seriousness, this would have never happened. I think this is like their courthouse or something. This would have never happened if they didn't make such a big deal about stupid stickers. The end. Britt, you like the end? Oh, shit. Yes, I do. Hey, Robin. Okay, so it says here, this was already textbook malicious and selective prosecution, said Nathan Wilson. Nathan Wilson is the dad, and I believe he is a member, if not part of, like, the leadership of Christ Church. But let's just double check that. Nathan Wilson, Christ Church. Yeah, see, he's part of the thing. Here's the, oh my God. Wait, This is here you go, Mary P. You wanted to know who they were. That's them. That's them in that video. 'Cause look, he's got smaller kids. This is how you can help. This is that family right there. So that's Nathan Wilson. So this must be pretty old because I think that kid at the top was 19 when this happened. I can't wait to hear what that is, Mary. Oh, wait. What does this say? Nate Wilson had a tumor? By now, many of you have heard the news regarding Nate Wilson's upcoming surgery to have a tumor removed in his brain. Tax regulations are such that we cannot transfer gifts received straight across to individual needs. Deacons Fund? When is this? Hold on a second. Douglas Wilson is okay, so he's the brother then of the guy that runs this church. 2017, I guess this Nathan, the father of the boys that got arrested, had some kind of brain cancer or something. Oh, look, they're from Rexburg. And it looks like he owns Alpine Vision Center. He owns Alpine Vision Center, is a real estate investor, and he owned Flatirons Optometry. Yeah, I don't know. But look, he was a frat boy, Pi Beta Kappa. Pi Beta Kappa. Yeah, I don't know if they're corrupt. I don't know anything about them, but it is part of that church, which people have said things about. But at any rate, I mean, does it really matter like what they're into? Because stickers, look at all these stickers they left alone. I mean, they have a point, regardless if you agree with their beliefs or not. Legally, it sounds like they're kind of being messed with here. Okay, so it says that Keith Shaw, the Latah County prosecutor, was not happy with the recent developments. Over the course of the last year, Shaw and Liz Warner have repeatedly and falsely maintained to the court that video evidence had not been provided because it didn't exist. Now look at this. This is the only good thing we have going for us. Judge Megan Marshall correctly identified this claim as suspicious when she first heard it months ago. So good for her. At least Megan Marshall is speaking up. So sanctions may be in order, Scholl admitted to Judge Marshall at the hearing, but this kind of thing does happen. He also said the existence of the video was a complete surprise to him. And Liz Warner did not comment in any way. Miss Liz Warner. And I'll show you Miss Liz Warner and all these other people in a minute. Defense was finally able to view the 40-minute video the day before the hearing. And one significant problem with the video was that there was no audio.
What?
MPD now insists that no audio exists. We've never heard that before, Nathan Wilson said. No pun intended. After finally viewing the long suppressed video, defense counsel Sam Creason of Lewiston immediately reached out to both prosecutors under the assumption that they would be voluntarily dismissing the year-old case that had already been reduced to single misdemeanor counts. It is extremely disappointing to see that the officers involved not only knew of the evidence, but viewed it and maintained it. A review of the video demonstrates why MPD did not want this evidence disclosed. And I'm hoping that we reach the day when the audio is produced. The officers' conduct that night was improper, and they have put the prosecutor's office in this position. Surprisingly, prosecutors are still determined to move forward, although Keith Shull filed a motion to delay the hearing. Creason, however, wanted no further delay, preferring to get officers under oath immediately, so the hearing proceeded. In testimony, all three officers, these are all our Moscow officers, Nunes, Waters, and Gunderson, who were directly involved in the sticker interrogations, testified to possessing recording devices at the time of the arrests. Two more officers passed through or near the scene, one of whom was also wearing a mic. The squad car that captured the video was also equipped to capture audio. No audio of that night has been produced yet by MPD. Sworn testimony and the MPD case file audit log also revealed that Nunes, Waters, and Gunderson at least had accessed and reviewed the footage of the incident in the last year, while the department was still denying its existence. Nathan Wilson said Keith Shull was obviously genuinely distressed that MPD sat on this evidence. I really do appreciate that, although I have no idea what he thinks the county gains from his continued participation in the city's little holy war. I also appreciate Sergeant Gunderson's honesty prior to going under oath, although I wish someone in the department had blown the whistle 10 months ago. Notice he calls him Sergeant. I don't think he's listed as a sergeant on the Moscow PD website. What happens next remains to be seen. MPD has offered no explanation or any comment, nor have prosecutors. Judge Marshall could issue sanctions. If further testimony reveals that city attorneys were aware that evidence was being suppressed, the consequences could be far more significant. For now, City Attorney Liz Warner clearly believes that it is still in the city of Moscow's best interests to continue prosecuting the Wilsons for protest stickers that rubbed the city wrong more than a year ago, even though her prosecution has brought those stickers more attention than they would have ever received otherwise. So true. And Bill Thompson's Latah County office is still content to follow Warner's lead. If my boys had gotten tickets a year ago, I probably would have written one appeal and then just paid the fine, even though I know my sons didn't do anything illegal and the cops did, Nathan Wilson said. But starting at 13 misdemeanor counts and then burying evidence and coming after us for more than a year, for some reason, the city has started to march into career-ending territory now, and I have no idea why or what they possibly stand to gain. Meanwhile, our damages and civil claims are really starting to pile up. We'd be exhausted if it weren't for the support we receive from across the country. But with that support, we're more than happy to hire a stable of lawyers to go the distance on this thing if we need to. If someone sane at the city doesn't end this soon, it's going to get really, really embarrassing and even more expensive. Last week, the court heard testimony from officers under oath for the first time, as well as arguments from defense and prosecution on whether the interrogations of the Wilson boys were illegal. So there's a lot more that goes along with this, like the defense fund and all this stuff. Stickergate. Can you believe this, guys? If you're looking for a membership link, you can find it in the description of the video, I believe. So, let's take a look at Gunderson's sticker book, and then I'm going to open up the phone lines after we take a look at his sticker book. So this looks like it's the first page of his sticker book. I know, Mandy. It says name, Shane Gunderson. It's really cute cover. Here's page 2. Oh, we've only just begun. And I think there's 2 more pages. So page 3. Uh-oh, what happened to Fry? Page 3 he dedicated to his boss. Look. My boss before Idaho 4 and my boss after. He doesn't look quite so happy than the before picture, does he? All right, we got 1 more page of the sticker book. I know he's still working on it. He said, "This is my coworker, Jay Waters. He is also part of the investigation into Stickergate." So that is his work so far. I think, huge compliments to Shane Gunderson. I think he's done a nice job on his sticker book. How about you guys? Are you impressed? I am totally impressed. Is what legit? Yes, we do have video of that night. We do have that. We have a lot of stuff. So let me show you how legit it is, Mary. We've got lots that goes along with this before we make any judgments yet. Oops. Here is proof of this stuff, right? This is Latah County Prosecutor's Office. This is the Brady disclosure and request that we saw. That's not what I meant to pull up. I was trying to play it off like it was, but it wasn't. We've got a lot here. Okay. This right here is Nunez and Waters. These are 2 of the officers involved in Stickergate with Gunderson, the Grund. And that is your chief. I never realized how little he is. So, again, on the right, Mitch Nunez. In the middle is this Gunderson. Or is the Waters. And then we have the article on the actual arrests. And let's take a look.
The investment of STCU is profoundly impacting college success.
Of course, after this annoying ad. But this is going to show you some of the footage from that day at the psalm sing. Sing a psalm.
People who were arrested back in September for not wearing masks during an outdoor church event in Moscow are suing the city in federal.
I think this is Nathan Wilson or Nathan Wilson's brother. Hold up. I got my windows all messed up. I'm sorry. I got too much open. I got too excited with the Stickergate. I know, chill. It's okay, Mary. We get there. It's a lot.
Creek Town,
3 people
dude.
who were arrested back in September for not wearing masks during an outdoor church event in Moscow are suing the city in federal court. Sean and Rachel Bonnet and Gabriel Wrench are accusing the city police department, arresting officers, and the prosecuting attorney for violating their First Amendment rights. The 3 were arrested at Psalm Sing. It's an event and were originally charged with misdemeanors for resisting arrest and violating Moscow's mask mandate. Those charges have since been dismissed. Wrench and the Bonnets are seeking damages for the violation of their constitutional rights and punitive damages for the, quote, reckless indifference.
So this is a different one. This is in March of 2021. This is at Christ Church Gabrielle Wrench and Sean and Rachel Bonet. Hang on. Wilson. Arrest Moscow police. I know there's video of it. What? A Moscow home functioning as an Oxford house, a sober living home, was damaged by fire Sunday morning in March. A sober living? Wait, Christchurch parishioners win big in federal court. So with the one I just showed you guys, yeah, there's a lot. But there's another. This is another case on the Moscow PD, and they lost. They lost that one with this guy here. The judge disagreed with Moscow wanting to get this one thrown out. The Seeb Law Office caught on fire January 6th? Why is there so many fires? November 24th, a new web page on the City of Moscow website has been set up as a consolidated location for information. Yeah. We know why that is. Yeah, I don't know. I know that video's out there though, Mary. What's his name? Nathan Wilson, Rory Wilson, Moscow, Idaho video arrest. What the heck is this? American Freedom Law Center. I mean, this is okay. I just want to put this in perspective. I mean, who really cares about the church, what they believe in? This right here, these stupid stickers, they hid evidence. I guess that's the point. Who cares about the video? Yeah, it happened. It's all going on in court, but they had fuck Trump, fuck Christchurch stickers that they left up on these poles, but they arrested and charged with 16 misdemeanors for these stupid stickers. I guess the point is, if they're going to hide evidence on stupid stickers, on a stupid sticker gate, what else are they going to lie about? I mean, this is so stupid. And Gunderson didn't come clean for a year. And he was the first one on the scene. So to me, that's pretty damn important. Because when he got there, he was the first one there. He was around the 911 callers. He was around the roommates. Here you go, Mary. I found it. Psalm Singh arrests 1 year later. Today marks 1 year. So on September 23rd, 2021, it was 1 year. And here is the arrest.
down for this.
Well, I mean, I think they sounded pretty good, actually. I mean, what were they doing wrong? I mean, really? This seems so petty. Moscow PD seems so petty. So this is a video of the entire event. I will share this link and put it in the description so you guys can check it out because there's a whole video. And then here is another clip. This is from 2 days later. Look at Chief Fry. Nothing better to do? The chief? Dude, these people aren't hurting anybody. I mean, they make the Christ, like all these people were like, oh, the Christ Church, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, well, they don't look like they're doing anything bad here from what I could see.
In just a minute, we'll open with prayer, but an announcement first. The Moscow police have told us that they're going to issue citations if you don't have a mask or not 6 feet apart. The city has helpfully painted dots on the parking lot. If you don't want to risk a citation, then you can find a dot and stand on it. All right. So if you're also keep in mind,
look at them.
Family, which averages here like 7 to 10 people. You can family of Christ. So you can fill in between the dots if you're a family. So let's pray. Father in heaven, thank you for this opportunity to sing. We pray that you would receive what we offer to you in Jesus' name. And amen.
Amen.
Mark?
4 song sheets.
I mean, these people aren't doing anything wrong. Look at these clowns. They have proven themselves to be clowns. Sorry. They have. There's the Nunez. And look at Fry standing there. Hand them up, boys. Hand them up, boys. Look at Joe. She says, I'm gay and I stand with these people. I don't think they're doing shit wrong. And I don't trust the creepy Moscow PD. Mm-mm. I don't know. For being crazy, they sure have a lot of members and looks like a lot of families. I mean, I don't know what their beliefs are, and I don't know why they have such a bad stigma. I'm sure there's, you know, things that go along with that. But in these incidents right here, I don't see anyone doing anything wrong. They're not violent. They're not aggressive. I mean, look at this guy. He's not being violent or aggressive to the cops. I don't understand what their big beef is. Is it politics? Is it political, social issues? And that's it? Oh, this is when he got arrested. Dude, they arrested him right there. Look. What the heck? Is this real? So save us, Lord, our God and King, as we I mean, yeah, this is the people that got arrested. This is the 25th of September, though. This doesn't even seem right to me. And I'm not a big religious person, but this is absolutely ridiculous. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
It's unjust. I don't know how that's a department for the people. And so when I hear that from your own members of your force, and then this kind of crap happens,
I'm sorry you feel that way. I mean, I don't know what I can't. I'm not going to convince you that we're here for you today.
What order wouldn't you obey? Like, do you have a line? What order would you not obey? What law would you say?
Not unlawful order.
Unlawful. So if it's lawful, so there was a lot of atrocities that members of law enforcement have done that were lawful. What's one you wouldn't do, or is there nothing you wouldn't do as long as it was lawful?
As long as I gave you the order, you're going to do it.
I'm not going to debate with you on stuff.
Okay.
That's all.
I've never felt like there was a place that my kids weren't safe, or that my friends weren't safe. Until now. You have to think better of this. But you have to reconsider. You're on the right side of it. Please. You guys have been nothing but kind. Nothing but kind. You just have to stand on the right side of what you want. You're the last thing standing between us and the crazies up there. They've lost their way. No one can change that. But you can choose whether to enforce crazy laws or not. Just like you could enforce in the olden days whether you were going to hold me down for being black and drinking out of a fountain or not. You can choose. You can choose.
I guess I'm very, very distanced, no pun intended, from this because I lived in Florida through this, and we didn't social distance, and nobody's businesses got burned down, and nothing like this happened in Florida. So anyways, there we go. I say we open up the phone lines, and we're not going to make this a bash this Christ Church because I don't know anything about them. I don't want to bash them. But I am going to continue showing some of these facts from the court while we take our calls. So let's get that number up. But I definitely don't want to debate Christ Church because I just don't. But I do want to talk about the police officers who hid evidence because that's important. And what would you say? Let's do a little guessing game. We're going to do a poll guessing game. Hold on. This is going to be fun tonight. So the number is 727 for calls. And the phone lines are open. 727-755-6001. Call me up. Yeah, Joanne, I think the Christchurch stuff has been exaggerated as well. And I would totally believe that. So let's get this up. Hold on, let me get the number on the screen. And then hopefully you guys can start ringing my line here. I know Mary's probably jumping at the bit to say something. Thank you, Angie. I'm getting it up on the screen too. Oh, let's make it a little bit bigger. There we go. 727-755-6001. Give me a jingle. Pastor Doug. Is he like the one that runs that? But what is that? That doesn't have anything to do with this, though. I will look at that. I will look at that. This is Doug right here, the old guy. He looks like the guy from
Town, dude.
He looks like the guy from Home Alone, the neighbor. I know who he is.
And the stickers. Just a second.
Okay, let's watch this.
What's with it?
I know nothing. So the short form of this is that when the city council, our Moscow city council, applied a mask mandate, it was totally unnecessary. We were and are one of the most lightly touched regions in the country. Okay, just virtually nothing going on here, and a year into it, virtually very lightly touched by the coronavirus. And I know that there are places where that's not the case, that people have been hit hard, but not here. It was not here. And yet our city officials applied a mask mandate, which we protested and thought was unnecessary. Then when they extended the
No. I get that their beliefs might be like wonky and like. I missed your call. 918 918-973. My phone didn't even ring. Hold on. Hold the phone, guys. I feel like I gotta test my audio on this Google Voice. I have the biggest problems with this shit. It's frozen up. Hold on. But I know that their beliefs
Creek
might
Town,
be very
dude.
fundamental. I'm not denying that. I'm not saying I agree with that or not. I'm not religious, okay? I don't care what they believe. Hold on. Let's see if we can hear this. Hello? Nine 773. Can you hear me? Like, I don't care what their beliefs are. That to me doesn't matter. Like, the law matters in this case. Now, if you want me to like have lunch with, these people and like hang out with these people, then I'm going to be like, okay, what are their beliefs? But in this matter here right now, what we're talking about, I don't care. And it's like the same thing for Waco. Like, I get that David Koresh was a bad man in so many ways. And yes, he should have been arrested for those things. But it's still, the ends doesn't justify a means. And I guess that's my point. I don't care. Like, people are free to feel however they are. Like, if he wants to feel that, wives are supposed to be subservient, that's his right. So the same goes for Waco. Like, their religion, whatever they believed, that's their right. They're in their homes. They shouldn't have been gassed and forced out of their homes. That's my opinion. And these people should not have been forced, I don't think, to stop singing. They weren't hurting anyone. If you want to like monitor the situation, fine. Have the officers stand around and monitor. But if they're not hurting anyone, not hurting each other, I don't get it. And I never will. I never, ever will.
Mask mandate. And when they extended the mask mandate, again, unnecessarily, our church has held psalm sings and hymn sings, Christmas carol sings outdoors for years. We've done this for a long time. And we'd had a couple of psalm sings in Friendship Square, one or two, after the mask mandate. And then when the city council extended the mask mandate, we held a psalm sing, an abbreviated psalm sing at City Hall, where we had hundreds of people show up. And we prayer, 3 psalms, and then went home. So it was 15 minutes. It was to simply register our concern.
And was that legal?
It was entirely and totally legal because the city ordinance that was requiring masking had certain carve-outs and exemptions, and religious services were exempt. And this was a religious service.
As well as political assembly.
A political assembly. It was
I mean, I get that a lot of things were going on, but this wasn't one of those violent things. There were riots. You got to remember, it wasn't just mask mandate riots. This was Black Lives Matter riots during COVID. Remember? 2 different issues. 2 different issues. These guys don't look like they were being violent, doing any pushback, starting fires, burning down the businesses. I don't see any of that. But I do see the Moscow PD hiding evidence of what they did and said. And I don't like that. Because if we can't trust law enforcement, I don't need to trust Doug Wilson. I don't need to trust Rory Wilson or whoever they are. I don't need to. Because I would need to trust police. Because if I ever visit Moscow, Idaho, I don't want there to be shitty police officers if something happens. I don't care what Doug Wilson's doing in his church or at his house. This was an isolated, targeted attack. No report. I'm still working on the phone lines, by the way.
Different ways. And we were outdoors.
I'm getting Alexander Graham Bell on speed dial. Hold up.
We were a religious assembly. It was a right to free. Multiple freedoms were involved. So everything about what we were doing was legal. The city had painted dots on the parking lot beforehand to tell us how far apart to stand, but that was not part of the ordinance. We knew. So what was being done was legal. So we had this psalm sing that lasted for 15 minutes simply to register our protest. And at this psalm sing, the police arrested 3 of our parishioners.
All right, the phone lines are open. Go ahead and call. Here we go. Yay! One at a time.
Call from
Eddie.
To accept, press 1.
Hello, you are live.
Hello, I'm Eddie.
Hi, Eddie. How are you?
Good. I have some new information on the Idaho 4 case that I don't think too many people are aware of.
What's that?
Well, a little preface into it. It's not like a Banfield type of, sources, but, with the material that we all have, kind of scrutinizing the material and looking deeper, is how it's come about. I don't know if this information is going to become something bigger, or it's just possibly interesting topic.
Yeah, you never know, right?
But I want to share it with everybody so that they can examine it further and, possibly take it to the next level. If there's, something else that it can go further.
Okay. Where did you get the information from?
My own looking.
Oh, this is from your research. Okay.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think it's pretty much new for everybody that's listening, but I'm not saying that nobody knows about it. Brian Kohlberger would know about it, and his family certainly would know about it, too.
Okay.
Some people in law enforcement know about it, and possibly others. But before I get into it, is it all right if I ask the people in chat a question? How much time was it between the two stops in Indiana? So if chat wants to become involved and answer that.
Okay, so he wants to know how long between the two Indiana stops with Kohlberger and his father.
Yeah.
All right.
And also, could you do a poll? You were talking about doing a poll.
Yeah, what do you want me to put up, Eddie?
Could you ask the question, what was the entry point? And of course, we're talking about the 1122 King Road house, but, for economy of words, just, maybe like where was the entry point, or what was the entry point, something like this. Now, there's that window.
You mean the entry point to the home?
Yes.
Where did the perp go in?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's that window too, so maybe we should have that as an option, without the screen, that window. So there's the two doors, of course, and then the window.
Okay, so what do you want? But wait. Let's start first. Before we do a poll.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the first thing that you're bringing up before we get to the entry. What do you want to do first?
The poll.
And what do you want? What do you want the options to be, Eddie?
So the window, and then the two doors, and then maybe a fourth one, which is I don't know.
Okay, so give me a second here.
Sure. While you're doing that, I'm
Yeah.
just going to talk about a couple other things.
Yeah, go ahead, Eddie. Give it to
Can
them.
everyone hear me?
They can hear you loud and clear, Eddie.
Okay.
As long as you're not punking us, you're just fine. You won't get kicked.
I wouldn't waste anyone's time.
Okay, so which windows? Dylan's window?
Well, there's just that window, without the screen.
Or the sliding door or the front door?
Yeah, there's those two doors. Yep. And whatever order you put those in, it's up to you. I don't want to bias it.
Yeah. So Dylan's window, the back bedroom window, sliding door, and the front door. Would those be the only options you want in the poll?
And then, I don't know.
D's nuts? D's nuts, I don't know? Okay.
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. That's what I made it, Eddie. Okay. Give it to him, Eddie.
Awesome. Okay. And then I just want to talk about a couple other things before I get into what I came here to talk about that are both important and equally as important, too. When we're talking about mainstream media and their large platform, so, like, if you knew the truth about something, Jay, but mainstream media was pushing out the lie, you would never stand a chance to get the truth disseminated. It would...
Never.
The mainstream media's lie would always be the truth,
yeah.
so to speak. And yours, at best, would be a lie, but at worst, it'd be a conspiracy theory, right?
Correct. Yeah, I agree with that.
And then along the same lines, the power of suggestion, right? Everyone knows what we're talking about there.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody wants to make you believe something, because we're all kind of stubborn, you're likely not to believe it if you're forced to, but if someone leaves like a tantalizing clue for you to find, and the clue, of course, would only lead you in one direction, to what they want you to believe.
Mm-hmm.
So you come along finding it and thinking you're clever, you work it through your mind and you put through the effort, and you solve the clue and you're proud. And that thing that you solved, even though it's a lie, is now your truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So breaking you from that, even though it's a lie, if someone were to later on present you with the truth, you're likely not to back away from that lie.
Right.
Also.
Like you're going to be conditioned to just continue believing that first.
You have a stake in that because you put forth effort into doing that. So now to the poll. I can imagine what it says. I don't know.
Would you like to know? It's a landslide.
I'm going to vote on it right now. I know I'm going to suspect it's a landslide, but I'm going to vote on it right now. So.
Okay, go ahead. And I appreciate your call, Eddie. I really do.
It's going to take a little time for me to talk about what I'm here to talk about.
Okay, how much time do you need?
Just a few minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not a lot of time, Eddie. Just breathe. I mean, I'm not rushing you. There's no time on your call.
If I'm rushed, I might, stumble.
Just relax. I mean, go ahead. Take your time.
Okay, so I put, I don't know. And I'm surprised it's not higher on the sliding door, which is good. That's promising because, I put I don't know because nobody knows, not even law enforcement. But if the question was, what do you think the entry point, and you shouldn't have put Brian's, we don't know that yet. But if the question was, what do you think the entry point was, I would have put the front door. And the reason is because of the power of suggestion, right? There's at least a half a dozen or more places where we've all been kind of like nudged towards believing that it's the sliding door. And you got to ask yourself why that is. And what I think it is because if it's the sliding door, then it's going to be a random traveling serial killer. But if it's a front door, that's going to suggest someone more familiar. And we can't have it be someone more familiar because
it wouldn't fit the narrative, right?
It doesn't fit the narrative, right.
But I think also the sliding door is kind of obvious because we heard that Xana's father changed a lock, so we didn't know if that was on her bedroom door or on the front door, and we heard that the sliding door was left unlocked for people to freely come and go. So I think that's why we went. I don't really remember hearing anybody in law enforcement ever even speculate how he got in. But they did say that front door was wide open in the morning.
It actually, law enforcement does kind of speculate through DM's wording in the PCA. It does kind of push us to believe that. And then, we were talking earlier, when you begun your podcast, you were talking about Howard Blum. And I'm not picking on him, but just about all of mainstream media is, well, I don't want to get into it right just yet, but I'm looking at what the comments were about.
Well, what are you thinking of Howard Blum coming out with the information that he has? I mean, do you think that, does he have a motive to steer a narrative?
Well, I'll let you all judge. So I'm going to get into what we came here for right now.
Okay.
And what you're about to hear, take it to the bank.
What I'm about to hear?
Yeah, what I'm bringing right now. This is what I don't think people know, and it's kind of new information. And
are you playing a video or?
No. I want to talk about what happened in Indiana.
Okay.
Now.
Yeah, the two stops. People were saying 20 minutes. People were saying 30 minutes apart.
Okay, thank you for that. It's 5 hours, and
what?
It's 5 hours, and we all know that because it's on the body cams. But that's not even what that's not what I'm here to talk about. That's not the big bomb.
I didn't I didn't realize it was 5 hours. Is Indiana even a 5 hour drive through it?
It's 5 hours, and I'm going to explain it.
Okay, go ahead. I'm not going to cut you off anymore. Go ahead, Eddie.
No, you're fine. It's 5 hours because we know that on the body cams. And what's interesting is we ask ourselves the question, well, where did they happen? Where those two stops happen, that's a point on the ground. Now, I'm going to take you guys through where those two spots are. And of course, you're free to double check my work, but I'm not backing away from it. The first one happened probably just a few hundred yards to the east of a rest stop, which is in Greenfield on Highway 70. And the other one happened about 5.5 miles to the east of that. And it was, once you cross over the bridge of 6 Mile Creek, then you'll see the Henry County sign, and then after that there's the mile marker 113, and it's probably just like an 1/8 mile or whatever beyond that mile marker.
Okay, well, I've got the map pulled up as you're talking. So,
sure.
How do you know where these?
And I've done that, and you all, if I can do it, people, you can do it.
But how do you know where these stops happened? Because I'm at I-70.
Because, on Google Maps, you can just look. You look at the dash cam and the body cam. And, the method I use, you all can do the same.
Okay, what's the second spot? There's the Greenfield, and then what's the other one?
It's going to be, we'll just call it at mile marker 113.
Do you have like a city or no?
Oh, this is just probably...
Is it east or west?
7 miles to the east of Greenfield.
7 miles?
Yeah. Now, Jay, I'm going to...
Wait. Let me back up here. So you're saying that the two stops were 5 hours. You're agreeing with they're 5 hours apart. But
they're 5 hours apart.
But they took place 7 miles.
I know your mind is busy, but you just allow me to keep going with it.
Okay.
It gets better yet.
Okay.
Okay. They're 5.5 miles apart, these two stops. And at freeway speed, you would be probably 5 to 5.5 minutes to get between those 2 points. So in order for it to take you 10 minutes to go that short of a distance, you would have to be going half speed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you'd probably certainly get pulled over. Not that I have to defend that it's not 10 minutes, because it's not, period, end of the story. You can tell on these body cams, the sun, the afternoon sun, the shadow was much, much longer at 3:50 p.m. So
there's also a time change in Indiana at some point from Central to Eastern.
No, it has nothing to do with the time change. The one was at 10:41 a.m. and the other one was at 3:50 p.m.
Okay. Do you have any thing you can send me?
Oh, sure. After all this, I'll do it. But,
okay, cool.
Others can too. This material everyone's had it, and this has really been bugging me because everyone's had it for so long. But everyone's talking about this 10 minutes or 9 minutes, whichever. But okay, the second pull over, if it took 10 minutes, he would have to have been driving half the speed of the other traffic. He would have been pulled over certainly, but not for tailgating. He would have been for driving dangerously too slow. But what's more interesting is, so between the 2 points where he was pulled over, there's no exit or entrance. But at the mile marker 113 in Henry County, about 2.5 more miles up the road, there is an exit. And remember that. It becomes important in just a second.
Okay.
All right. So now we'll talk about how did it take him 5 hours to get from, one point to 5.5 miles to the other point. 5 hours.
Yeah.
Well, there's only 2 possible ways that could happen. And the first one is if after receiving a warning for driving too closely, both him and his father simultaneously went into frozen shock phase for about 5 hours. And then when they came to and drove down the road for 5.5 miles, they got their second warning. But I don't think that's it. I think it's this other.
Okay.
And that is,
what is
they
that?
drove about 8 miles up the road to that exit that we spoke about, and then they went back west. Now, here's where I'll speculate. I don't know if they went into Greenfield, but that would be what makes the most sense. They could have gone farther. But since they're going to the, to Pennsylvania, which is their home, to the east, why would they keep going further to the west? They probably went to Greenfield. And now I know this is going to cause some, it's inevitable. Some people are going to, speculate, he's what, suspect type of things was he doing in Greenfield for those hours? And we can't help that. People are going to do that. But I suspect he went to that Thai restaurant there in Greenfield by the Starbucks and the Papa Murphy's, rather. And then he's got like 4 more hours, right? So after that, I think he got some rest. And it would probably be a waste of money to go to a motel. You'd probably just go to that rest area on Highway 70 there that we mentioned.
And sleep.
And probably, driving 24 or 36 hours, you're going to need to get out and, stretch out your legs, go into the restroom and freshen up, brush your teeth or whatever, and sleep. That's what I suspect is what he did. But no matter what, he traveled on Highway 70 between those 2 points 2 times. He had to have.
Interesting.
Yes. And because of suggestion, why is it necessary that you and I and everyone else believe that it was 10 minutes? It could be just something just as simple as the mainstream media wants us to think that, here's this Brian Kohlberger. He's such a terrible guy. Not only does he stare at people and hold his gaze for too long and make them uncomfortable, but as soon as law enforcement tells him to do something, he just totally disregards them, and 10 minutes later does it again, flying in their face. I bet he even, while he brushes his teeth, wastes water. Let's get him off the streets. He's dangerous, right?
So, are you under the impression that you don't think they have the correct person? Or are you unsure of that?
Well, I can't be sure. I wasn't there. But
I mean, is that where you're going with this?
Well, that's not where I'm going with all of this. But the question you just asked me, I understand. It's a whole different topic, but I'll give you my personal thoughts on it. I'm leaning way more and more in that direction. The more I see of this suggestion in this misdirection that this whole case has been about, and there's many instances of it, but I don't know whether he did it or not.
What do you think? What do you mean, though? Like, are you saying that they were doing like a job?
In Indiana, or what is? Can you restate your question?
I just said, do you think that Brian and his father were doing a job? Or I'm just kind of confused. I guess I need you to just lay it out for me, Eddie. Like, what does all your research bring you to believe?
Creek Town, dude.
Well, it brings me to believe simply that they went 2 times along that section of freeway, and it was 5 hours between their 2 stops.
Mm-hmm.
But why is the mainstream media afraid to say it like that? What are we not allowed to know?
Well, I don't think that the mainstream media has ever, they don't really dive into, chasing down maps and stuff. The only news station mainstream that does that is News Nation. I feel like they're the only ones that would look into something off of, the main scope.
I'm not a journalist, but this is, if I can do this, whose job is it then to make sure that
well, I guess we rely on investigators, right? To have gone to this Thai restaurant and gotten cameras, gone to Starbucks and all the surrounding businesses, if that was where he was.
I think in the 5 hours, I think that he just got lunch and then he rested. And I don't think he did any. I'm not saying that he did anything. There's going to be those that are going to say, he went to that at Walmart, and that's where he bought that shovel. You know, so start looking for where he buried the bloody clothes and the knife in Greenfield. But
In
I'm more
Greenfield?
concerned- Greenfield, yeah.
That's where you think the evidence is?
No, others are going to be doing that, I'm saying, probably.
Well, I mean, isn't that, you're kind of insinuating that he spent a lot of time here, so.
Well, he did.
So,
He did.
yeah, I mean, are you trying to put speculation out there, or is there,
No,
like,
I don't
do you
think he
know
did
something
anything
for
nefarious.
certain? Like,
Well, we know. I know
what's
it
the
for certain.
bomb, I guess, is what I'm asking. Because you said
Well, I'm
everybody knew that 5 hours was in between the body cam footage, so
It is.
that
yeah.
wasn't your bomb. So what's your bomb?
That is it, and that he had to double back. He doubled back to somewhere we don't know, but it's probably Greenfield, and exited there and spent some time there.
Well, he did
But-
say he was going to get Ty in the video.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking it. Yes, but
His dad said they were a little jumpy or something like that because they had been driving for days and hours.
And being pulled over for falling too close, that's subjective. I mean,
Oh,
if you
yeah.
look at the dash cam for that second pullover, it's not too close. You know, you can see the two
Michael Jordan.
spacing between him and the vehicle in front of him. So, but this last point that I want to get to, and by the way, I don't know what this all portends. This is for everybody. This is for you.
Just
all.
to start, just to give us something you found.
Yeah,
right.
what
Okay,
does
I
this
got
all
you.
mean,
I got
right?
you. I got you.
Why can't we know that it's 5 hours, right? Why can't we know that? There's a reason for it, I believe. in
Well,
my
I
heart.
mean, they're denying altogether that the plans were even orchestrated. So, I mean, they're not going to
you know
tell
that
us
it-
anything about the calls, right?
Yeah, because you know, when we go back to that poll that everyone took and voted on what door, because I'm looking at the front door, and the reason I'm looking at that front door is because of the power of suggestion. Everywhere we look, we're being told to look at the back door. So it's like asking someone who's guilty of something, like your child or something. If somebody did something wrong and you're getting close to the truth because you're asking them questions, they're always going to tell you to look over there. They don't want you to look over here.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
tell you
So basically, the mainstream media is steering everybody in one direction and not in all the directions of the
Yeah.
information that they could seek. Is that what you're
That's
saying?
right. That's right. So,
And that's for
we have
every
to
case. That's every
Now,
case.
look at his arm. See, you ever watch the movie Fargo? I mean, I'm not in law enforcement, but I mean, is that strange to you? He's not afraid at all. He just puts his arm, he's just leaning right up there.
Yeah, so you
But-
think he's unaware of who he's pulling
No,
over?
He knows full well.
Okay.
My opinion.
Your opinion is that he knew full well. Okay.
Of course. Yeah.
So then, and that's part of why I believe like Howard Blum, because he's the one that actually came out with the Gunderson, Gunderson being the first on the scene. We wouldn't have known that. And then also he came out and said his FBI source told him they were planned stops and that they lost Koberger for hours after he pulled out of the apartment complex back in Washington. So far, it doesn't seem like Blum is giving us, bullshit.
Well, I'm more, rather than me focusing on what Brian Kohlberger was doing for these 4.5, 5 hours, whatever, in Greenfield,
Mm-hmm.
because that's where I'm supposed to be looking. I'm more concerned about looking at what law enforcement was doing. Like when he was at that restaurant brushing his teeth, or his father brushing his teeth, was there like another weary,
Wait, what are you talking about?
going-
Who brushed their teeth? Where are you
I'm
getting?
just speculating.
Oh, okay,
or
gotcha.
maybe at the Thai restaurant. Maybe after they left, did someone in law enforcement go get his DNA off that glass, or maybe when he's.
You don't think they really got the trash then?
Well, I don't know.
Are you thinking that? I mean, why would you doubt the trash story?
I have been thinking of all these things, but these are questions for everybody. For
Right.
you
No, I
all,
understand.
because
I
don't know.
appreciate your insight.
I'm only one set of eyes.
No. I get it. I appreciate your insight a ton.
Lastly, I saw one more thing,
Mm-hmm.
and this might be important, but in that second video, where it was later in the day, where the Indiana State Police pulled him over, the dash cam showed him walking back to the vehicle, the officer now, we're talking, and that video has been edited. Did you know that where he wears his body cam is blurred out? And plus, lower, because we can't see or hear on that body cam on that one, because he is wearing it so low on his body. Now, what is the policy of wearing body cam, and why would they blur that out and edit that video like that? And maybe someone knows. I don't know.
Well, I just think that a lot of things are redacted, and we don't know why. I mean, look at the whole case is under seal.
Why would you? Right.
Right? But why are we getting the things that we are? And I've questioned that, Eddie. Like, the whole case is under seal, but News Nation is getting these leaks,
The weirdest leak.
every other week, right? What do you think of the News Nation leaks? What's your take on those? Like,
it's laughable.
really? You don't think it's legit at all? Like, you don't think anybody's leaking them any real info?
Everything is against Brian Kohlberger.
Right.
Doesn't that give you pause? Like, why would that be? Is there any good news about the guy?
Well, I mean, when do you ever see like someone who's accused of such a horrendous thing? I mean, they don't really talk about the good. Let's face it, once they're named by their first, middle, and last name, there's no more good. One really good example is if you go back to the Oklahoma City bombing, that's one I dove into really deep. And the minute they arrested Timothy McVeigh, he was on the cover of Time magazine, and it said, "The Face of Terror." He had no chance. He was already tried and convicted in the American media from that moment on. So this doesn't surprise me. I mean, this is what they do.
Well, it's like protest too much. Shakespeare, everyone knows what we're talking about there. If not, you got to check it out because that's like a thing of beauty. But
how do you know that Brian Kohlberger wasn't just a big asshole and he's not guilty of everything that they said and he just was really good at hiding it?
He could be. I don't know. I don't know him. But
see, I take all the stuff that we heard in the media about like his drug use, the visual snow, all this stuff.
Nonsense.
I don't take it all as fact. I take it all in because I think that with the internet, you have to be very careful. Just because something says it was posted in 2006 doesn't necessarily mean that it was.
Do you know how bad the internet could make both you and I look if it had a mind to?
Yep, absolutely. And that was the scary thing. And not even, we were talking about this with AI doing these things and being able to fake people doing shit. But they can do this in real life. They don't need AI to, put forward a narrative on one person. They don't need that. So it's been going on for a long time. But I don't know if there's evidence of anybody else being the killer, though. Like, who would have been the killer in the white car? I mean, if you haven't any theories, fill us in, Eddie.
Well, I don't want to do that right now. I took enough of your time already.
No, you're good. You're like the best caller. You're the best caller I've had on this case, honestly. Because you actually brought something new to the table. I appreciate that. It's always the same old stuff.
I don't want to say what I think.
It's just your theory. I mean, we can all talk about our theories. Speculating. I mean, that's what we do. We have no idea because everything's under seal. So everything is pure speculation.
I think they knew who did it, possibly, before they even went to the house, before officers even responded. I think they knew who did it.
You think they knew before they got there?
Yeah. It might be a stretch, but I've often entertained that thought. how bizarre those press conferences were. Sometimes I think, they're looking, so they'll, at the press conferences, it's like, the community, those journalists are like, well, tell us what you know. And they'll say in response, we're going to tell you, trust us, we're going to tell you everything we know, but first I need to know everything from you. So community, give us everything. And, every citizen that was out, they know a little slice of their reality for that evening. They were somewhere and saw something. Even if they're home, their door cam saw something. So turn it all in. And they are going to turn it all in because that is the law.
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're obligated to do that. So now all the truth and all the facts are consolidated in one place, and that's a lot of control, right, over the facts of the case. And let's hope that all that information is, let's hope that they mean to do good with that information and all that truth rather than otherwise.
Well, yeah, I mean, I hope so too. So
because you don't know what your neighbor did, and vice versa. I don't know what my neighbor did, but your neighbor knows only what he saw. So everyone turns in all their information, and all the police know everything, and we know nothing, and the citizen knows nothing. And we never did end up getting any. The promises we're going to tell you what happened, but first you tell us what happened. Piecemeal. Everybody give it up. And we did, and we still don't know.
So where do you think all the victims were found? Do you think that the PCA is correct?
No. I don't even think that, I'm beginning to start to think that Dylan and Bethany weren't even home. Sometimes I think that.
You think they might not have? I've thought that maybe Bethany wasn't there.
And, Kaylee was a door locker, according to her family. So, who plans for this and then targets the back door? Because the back door, how do you know if it's going to be locked or not? That's just not a place you're going to target, is the back door. So it's just because I'm kind of I like to ask questions and I doubt. I'm really, what would be the word, suspicious, normally.
Mm-hmm. What do you think the underlying motive is here? Like what?
I think it's because Kaylee and Maddie knew something, and they were going to spill the beans.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that is. But
do you believe do you believe in the drug aspect of this with Emma Bailey being arrested? And
I think that could be what it was. But you're talking a moment ago about all this information that's been leaked. The biggest, the elephant in the room that no one's really talking about is, to me, it's just blowing my mind that no one's talking about that corner club photograph and the elephant in the room that's in that photograph, and no one's talking about it. And I don't even really feel comfortable saying what it is. Here,
well,
but
no, because you're talking about the screenshot, the still shot.
Yeah.
What's the elephant in the room? The who's standing at the door?
Yeah.
Or who's sitting on the stool?
The first.
Who's standing at the door? Is that Fry?
Yeah.
It is Fry. Okay, because I wasn't sure. I thought it looked like Fry.
In my opinion.
Yeah,
I can't prove it, but
I thought it looked like Fry as well. And then other people, I was asking opinions in my chat, and they were like, no, I think that's the owner of the corner club. So I was like, why would he be there at closing time? Maybe there was a problem. But I think it looks like Fry as well. So what would be what does Fry drive? Do we know? Does he drive a pickup, like a white one?
Well, I've been following this case pretty close, and I think that I've read in comments that he does, but I don't have that information.
I could have sworn, Eddie, if you go back on Brian Etton's Twitter, he sat in the parking lot one night and did an interview with somebody. I can't remember who he was talking to. because I was so distracted by the background of the interview. So he had the camera at a certain angle in the car, and he was sitting in the parking lot of the Moscow Police Department. And a white truck pulled in, and then another SUV pulled in behind it. They parked, and the guy in the white truck got out, and it looked like Fry, and walked over to the SUV. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting that Enton happens to have his camera on a weird angle. He's sitting in the passenger side of the car. Camera's on the driver's side facing a weird angle on him. You know, it wasn't like usually when Enton does the thing, he's straight on. He wasn't straight on. So you're catching this in the background. What do you think that was, if anything? Because I think that was Fry's truck.
It could be. I don't know if it has any connection to this. I mean, it's a coincidence, and it's interesting, but
yeah.
I don't think. Okay, let me say it like this. Ann Taylor's job is to advocate for her client. Her job is not to solve a mystery. So if he is guilty or innocent, I just hope that there's true justice for Brian Colbert, whatever it is.
Yeah, I do too.
That's what I want. If he's innocent, I want him to be found innocent, and so should everyone else.
No, I agree with you on that. I don't want you to think that, I'm all about persecuting someone before their day in court. I'm not.
But
I want the truth, whatever that truth is.
But I don't think, because he's the only suspect, and let's just for conversation say that he is innocent, and Ann Taylor finds him innocent. They win their day in court.
Yeah.
They won the day. That's the end of this story.
Right.
I think, I hope not. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think the Idaho 4 ever see justice.
I hope that's not the case.
Because her job isn't to solve riddles, solve this mystery. It's to advocate for Brian. So if he is found not guilty, then that is the end of this. It's going to end like Las Vegas shooting did.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, but I think this is way bigger.
It's that big. That's what I'm saying. It's big.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But you know what? No one questioned the Vegas thing, did they? Eddie, it just got swept under the rug. Like, you ask people now, like, hey, whatever happened? Like, if you're in just normal conversation, whatever happened with that Vegas shooting? You know what people say? I don't know. No one knows.
If you think against the narrative, you're a conspiracy theorist.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that has all kind of come to a head with the JFK stuff. I think that was a big mind blower for a lot of people, because the ones that didn't believe the original narrative, we're labeled as freaking crazy for 50 years.
Yeah, you need help.
That is huge to me.
Try for help.
I think that is huge. Like my parents aren't around anymore, but I would love to see their reaction, finding out that news. That's huge. So to me, I think anything's possible. I appreciate you, Eddie. I appreciate what you bring to the table. And I would love to hear more. I really would. I mean, I think you've done research down a road that maybe, me and my team haven't gone down. And that's why, I like that you felt comfortable bringing this up,
Thank you for that. Yeah, and like I said, I don't know what this means. What's the big secret on the 5 hours? I don't understand. Maybe it's just there isn't one, and I'm thinking too much about it. But I don't think that's the case. But maybe someone can take it to the next step. Maybe.
Maybe this information will fit, another piece of the puzzle from someone else.
Yeah. But so his car is facing to the east right now. But they came back to the west. There's no doubt about that. Because right now, this is the one that happened in the afternoon. This one right here.
Mm-hmm. This is the second one.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even following close, Eddie.
No, he wasn't. This is the second time they've been on this particular piece of road, and that's what I wanted to bring to everyone's attention. It has to be there. If I'm wrong, tell me in the comments below after. But This is the second time they drove that piece of road. It is. So.
Do you know anything about what was that hand signal he just did? That was weird.
They touched the back of their car.
Oh, yeah, that's right, to put their DNA on it.
I'm not in law enforcement, but I heard that from someone.
I did too. I forgot. You're right. They do touch it. I didn't know that before this case though.
But look, it's later.
This is the second stop. So maybe the first stop, like Mary P. in chat said, that maybe they were making sure he wasn't holding Dad hostage. What do you think of that?
Here's what I think about it. Has anybody considered the possibility of, because Brian Kohlberger is smart, right? Mm-hmm. He's just very smart.
Oh, yeah, he's smart. He's intelligent.
All these silly mistakes that he's making, I'm interrupting myself. Here's what I think. What if he's running for his very life? What if he left Pullman and has his dad with him? Because he knows so much more than us. Has anybody ever thought that? Brent Kopaka just, left us all. What if this guy, Brian Kohlberger, was next? And he knew, he caught on to that. And he was like, time to go. And I need my dad, his dad being there is keeping him alive. Couldn't law enforcement, right there, end his life and say, we lost the footage on that one, but yeah, the guy drew on me and had to put him down. I don't know. It's probably me thinking too much. But
do you think that Brian's dad knows anything that's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you think that Brian's dad, does this go as deep as Brian's dad? You know what I mean? As far as, is he involved because of Brian, or is it kind of do you think they're both kind of mixed in?
Well, if Brian's guilty, his parents might just know about it, and we all watch enough of Dateline NBC with Keith Morrison,
Sure.
We've seen so many of those, and we've seen where it's the guy's obviously guilty, but his whole family is blind. They can't see that he's guilty, and they stand behind him 100%.
Yeah.
Who are these people? Well, because it's blood. That's family, right? And that's what family does, I guess.
Well, yeah, I agree with you, and I think that it's really hard to also, come to the conclusion and accept that your family member could be capable of something like that. I think that's obstacle number one, so I'm never, hard on the victims of, and I consider, family members of people that do things victims as well, They don't have control over their family member per se.
Yeah.
So
if he's guilty, the family is going to stand behind him, but if he's innocent, they're hurting right now.
I'm sure.
They would know if he's innocent, too.
Well, I'm just wondering if they're talking to News Nation, because they came out the other day and said that the sisters were fired from their jobs.
Yeah, if that's true, that's...
Do you believe that? Because that's one of those leaks that just came out of the blue.
Source, right. Is that true or not?
What would be the point of putting it out there if it wasn't? What kind of lie is that? If you're going to make up a lie, you make it a little juicier. But it seems like that would be illegal for them to get fired for that.
Yeah, they would have, that would certainly be something they'd want to get an attorney for and fight that.
It seems like they definitely have recourse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems really unfair. And I don't want to see anything bad happen to, his immediate family just because he's tied up in something, whatever this is, Well, I feel like, you're a lot more calm now. Do you feel better now that you got that off your chest?
Yeah, thank you for listening.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime, Eddie. Really, you've been a great caller. What is your thoughts, though? Can I ask your thoughts on the Kopaka situation? And Brian's dad mentioned it.
This.
You do?
I think so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, when
I don't know.
Brian's dad mentioned it and said there was a mass shooting, it sounded like. And then Brian, like, kind of cut in and said something like, we don't know that. We weren't there or something. Do you remember? Did you catch that in the body cam?
The first one?
I believe it was the first stop, yes.
Well, they didn't speak long about it. He just said, well, it's terrifying.
I know, but it just kind of got brought up out of the blue, like, hey, where are you guys going? And whatever. And then he's like, there was a mass shooting, because there was a lot of background noise, so I couldn't catch all of it.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure, like, what brought his dad to even mention, like, you know, we're coming from WSU, da-da-da, but we're in Indiana, and he's talking about a mass shooting, which it wasn't a mass shooting, so I don't know why his dad thought it was a mass shooting.
So let's talk about point of reference or point of view. So if you were in Brian's position, that would be something that's really personally close to you, and it would weigh heavy on you. So, the police officer doesn't know anything about it, but Brian Kohlberger certainly knows about it.
Uh-huh.
And, what is it, in what reference does it have in his life? Maybe Brian knew Brent Kopaka.
Mm-hmm. I thought that.
Right. So maybe he knows more about the shooting than than the average person would. I don't know.
I gotcha.
So
I'm still waiting for Brent Kopaka's, like his roommates to do an interview. Like, oh my God, how did you feel? Escaping this psycho with a gun. Nothing. We haven't seen any interviews, and so unusual.
Yes. So yeah, I don't think one person can do those crimes in that amount of time.
No, you don't.
No way. And he didn't have any injuries. At least, we can assume that. He went to the doctor like 4 days later, and, you can tell by these videos here. Although, the people that want to see what they want to see are going to say, well, look at, that shadow along his wrist. Look at how terrible that cut is.
Sure.
But it's not.
But, I was looking at all the people in the Latah County Jail, and they all have some kind of marks on their arms or hands or fingers or whatever, because they're into whatever they're into. So that's, people will definitely, start zooming in and finding things. But I'm interested in your perspective.
I think he's the perfect fall guy.
Yeah.
He's the perfect guy to hang this thing on.
How would they even know him, though, if he was new there for 2 months?
Think of the resource and the intelligence that the FBI has. They could profile, within minutes, probably.
Yeah.
Think of the amount of intelligence and power they have. They have, probably an instantaneous list of everybody that lives in the 50-mile radius of where that crime took place, and can compile, a ratings list of who is, perfect to assume it to be.
So, can we talk about Emma Bailey and Demetrius? What's his last name? I can't remember. But the two that were arrested.
Okay.
Have you looked into that much?
Not too much. No. See, watch.
Okay. Well, I don't really know too much either. I just know that they were like a UI student died, overdosed, fentanyl is suspected to be involved, and these two were arrested for delivering cocaine to the dead person, right?
Right.
Now, this is the rumor mill, because I don't know. I haven't seen any proof of this, but someone said that Emma Bailey is connected to 1122 King Road. But I haven't been able to find any evidence of that. Do you know anything about any of that?
No, I haven't been. I've seen your video on that.
Yeah.
But I do think drugs are involved in this somehow.
Mm-hmm. It seems
money,
like it, yeah.
All the money.
Follow the money is always that's the good old adage, right?
Yeah, people are talking about JLR. JLR will probably now make Greenfield, Indiana, his stop. He'll go there.
Well, I mean, maybe he should. Maybe he should.
Well,
because, it'd be interesting to talk to the people at the Thai place. And I do believe that Howard Blum called them, if I'm not mistaken. He didn't.
Really?
Yeah, he did an interview with somebody when he was backing up his FBI information, because the FBI or the authorities said, no, these were not planned stops, because they're not going to give away their tactics anyways, even if it was, right?
Right.
Which is understandable. But what was I saying? I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Howard Blum.
Oh, yeah. Howard Blum was backing up his claim that, no, my source, and I believe my source told me, these were planned stops. So, I don't even know. I lost my train of thought. But, yeah, he was very adamant that they were planned.
They were. You gotta just know that. And so let's talk about that. Why would they disassociate themselves from that? That's why I'm bringing this all to you all. Does anybody know what purpose they would have to do that? With them getting his DNA off that glass of water at the Thai restaurant, would that be something they don't want everyone to know about?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'm just speculating. I don't know what they did.
I would think that there's multitude of things that they would keep, under wraps, because the FBI doesn't want to give out their tactics. But anybody who watches the FBI files or crime shows of any type where they're investigating and they need DNA or whatever, they always go for straws or cigarettes or a cup.
Joanne say, I think he knew the truth. Is that Brian Kohlberger? Does Joanne?
I think she's talking about Kopacka.
Oh yeah, he could have.
Yeah, Kopacka. Because there was someone who came out in the very beginning, and I wasn't really looking at all the speculation at that point. I was still trying to take in the facts that we were getting in the beginning. But someone said that Brian and another guy bought a knife off of Facebook Marketplace, and this person came forward.
Yeah.
Who was that guy?
I never paid much heed to that because, getting a knife isn't what if you owned a knife for many years? It's not like you buy a knife right before committing the crime.
Aw, I hear your cat.
Yeah. I get
She
that.
wants to talk.
She gets jealous, when I'm on the phone.
Oh, my goodness.
Interrupt. Yeah.
What a diva.
I know. Yeah.
There's a lot of avenues in this case, isn't there? Because I'm looking at chat and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Cats, Mandy Jo.
I know. It's like, what?
Funny.
And I got someone talking about Kopacka being protected person, and then we got WSU Kyle Payne. We've got all this stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, there's so much, Eddie. What are we gonna do till June?
Yeah, that's not my real name, but here, I just typed in my cat's name for you guys. You guys can see the association.
Cat boy?
Yeah.
Oh,
Cat
you're
boy.
one maiden nut?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I'm Eddie.
Look at Chick Antique. It was Jinx. She goes, ask Eddie if he's in chat right underneath his
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a little delay, I think. Gina Marie thinks you're Einen.
Oh, no.
You actually have a little bit of a Canadian accent. No?
Well, that would, I guess I could see how that could be, yeah.
I mean, you have a little bit of a Canadian.
Based on my geographical region.
Yeah. I'm from Michigan originally, so
okay.
I kind of pick up, being close to Windsor and stuff, I pick up that, no. But that could be, Wisconsin, too. I just know that, maybe because I'm familiar with it. But everybody loves you in chat. Everybody's saying, I love you, Eddie. Hi, Eddie.
All of these people I'm getting familiar with, and they're all so nice. It's nice to interact with them. Yeah.
The same people you see in all the different live streams.
Yeah. Yeah. Annie Potts is amazing, and Gina, you are too.
Gina Marie.
I love your call-ins.
You know, it's so funny. I love all the call-ins that everybody does. I listen to like the T-Rev call-ins and, you know, take it all in when I can. And I see the same people too. And I just think it's awesome. David Skywalker.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got like our own little clique, huh?
Being mean? Is he being mean?
Who, David? No, he's never mean. He just called you Brian Koberger. He said, hey, Brian Koberger, what's up?
Because I like Brian, do you think?
I think he thinks that you are maybe defending him, but you're not. It's innocent.
You know, people do. They do get that way. If you know, dare defend Brian Koberger, then they become like that.
Yeah. Of course. If you question
defending him
anything, like in any case. So if like in the Chris Watts case, it was really bad. I don't know if you know who he is, but he like murdered his family. And he was so normal looking that everyone had a really hard time accepting that he could hurt his kids. And it was just crazy that no one wanted to believe it. And
so, yeah, I just, you know, if he's innocent, you know, because what good would it be to anybody if he is innocent but he gets convicted? You know, the real killer is still out there.
Yeah.
Is anybody safe? You know, does that make anybody safer? Right?
Well, I just think the truth, you know, whatever that truth is, you know, if there's drugs involved, if there's, I have a really hard time with, you know, there being like underlying things and then this just happened and blew it all up, like a quadruple murder. I don't know. This doesn't seem like a stalking incident to me.
Well, no, it's not.
Because if it was a stalking incident, Eddie, everybody got in the way, everybody'd be dead. Like, Dylan wouldn't have lived.
Right. She wouldn't have.
Now, let me ask you this. Have you looked into or thought about or saw any speculation that maybe Brian was already in there before they got home?
Well, no, because that wouldn't work in their timeline. I think someone was in there before, but it wouldn't be Brian because then, you know, how do they tie that in with all these other things in the PCA?
Yeah, they couldn't.
No, originally, and I have this underlined here, you know, where did the original 3 to 4 a.m. timeline originate? Does anybody know? That narrative has long since kind of quieted down.
Well, no, because the last call was at what time from Kaylee's phone or whatever?
2:52.
Okay. Yeah, because at first it was between 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm. But now they had to adjust the time to fit Brian. Is it okay to mention other YouTube?
Yeah,
content?
go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, because Lana.
Uh-huh.
You know, everyone's familiar.
TNT. Dynamite. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I almost forgot. Well, what were
I know, I forgot what we were talking about too. Don't read chat. It screws you up every time.
3 to 4, yeah, it does. 3 to 4 a.m., I think, is what we're talking about.
Yeah, the timeline.
And then this has to fit Brian Kohlberger. You know, they had to move the timeline to fit Brian Kohlberger, it feels like.
Yeah.
I don't know. She's onto something. I mean, she is good. And, well, so are you. I'm not here to...
No, you're right. I mean, she brings a lot of great stuff to the table, for sure.
Yeah,
I don't deny that. But listen, Mary P. said the light is on at 3 a.m. in the LA body cam. And
I don't think so.
You don't think that was that?
I don't.
Window?
I've been looking at that body cam and the Banfield, and I don't think that's the house.
Look what Annie Potts said.
I mean, okay, so let's just go with that. What if it is the light turning off? what does that suggest?
Well, if it's Xana's room, then it suggests that maybe Xana and Ethan shut the light off and we're going to sleep. I don't know. I don't think it happened between 4 and 4:25. I think that
No, I don't
scream
think so either.
is. I don't think it's fake. I think that was released, and I think they went, "Oh shit!" They heard that. I think that scream is legit at the time of the murders.
You think that's a legit scream?
I do. I have a really hard time thinking it's not. And also the leaked audio from the Ring doorbell next door. I don't think that's fake either. I know that the woman came out and said, "Oh, that was just a example. That was my neighbors. My neighbors were fighting in a domestic." Bullshit.
I think they could have been bound, too.
I've thought that too.
So, because you can then remove, before you leave the house, remove the bindings, the ties.
Yeah.
You know, how are you going to control that many people? You just can't. Unless you have a relationship with them, you know them. And
Correct.
for some means, you were able to tie them up. And even if there's two different times of the murders, too.
Right.
And I think that could be the case, too.
So another thing that was kind of a giveaway, in my opinion, was when Chief Fry came out and he was like, or maybe it was Lanier. Maybe it was one of Lanier's press conferences. But at any rate, Moscow PD came out and they were like, the rumors that the victims were bound and gagged is not true. And I was like, huh? So I asked my, people I talked to, and I was like, did you guys ever hear they were bound and gagged? Like, why would he say that? And no one heard that. Had you ever heard that it was a rumor they needed to dispel at that point in time? Like, of all the things they were releasing at that time, that's one of them?
Right. So that tells me that there is some truth in it. Within every lie, there is some truth.
Mm-hmm. And I always thought that maybe some of those, little things they were saying were meant for the perp. I mean, those press conferences weren't for us. Let's face it. Maybe some of the information was, but some of the things they were putting out there, I think, was for the perp. And I do think that they do have tactics where they do put out wrong info on purpose, such as the year of the car. I think that, to play devil's advocate here, I don't think, that this isn't a cover-up, that this dude did it, that he is just, whacked. I don't know. But I don't even know where I was going. I lost my train of thought. Chat, I got to close you because I can't keep looking at you.
Those journalists at those press conferences were so strong. Their questions were so good. It was Amanda Rowley, I think, that asked the question and informed on the 16th of November press conference. She informed Chief Fry of the food truck video. And prior to that, there was no release on any press release or discussion about the food truck video, but as soon as Amanda Rowley spoke of it, then thereafter, you and I and everybody.
Who's Amanda Rowley?
She's just a journalist that was there.
Oh, well, didn't Kaylee's sister actually bring that out of the woodwork?
She did, yeah.
Yeah.
And
then that reporter blew it out into the public.
She blew it out there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was her, not law enforcement.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I think a lot of the things that came out were from those tough questions. And Fry got really tongue-tied at the one. He asked that reporter to repeat his question, and then he lied, and then the reporter was like, wait a minute, no. That's not what you just said. He was totally called on the carpet, and his cheeks became red as apples.
After that third press conferences, then they just thereafter went to
YouTube.
like a YouTube.
They made a YouTube channel December
'Cause you can't.
something, right?
Yeah, they couldn't control the journalists.
No, they couldn't control that narrative from all these. And then you know who else got it got heated with was the black guy from Fox, and I can't remember his name now. Old investigator.
Ted Williams.
Yes, Ted Williams. He asked a really tough question, and I think he was the first one. And you could just see Fry's face change. He wanted the Argonaut first, and they weren't there or something. And then it was Ted. And they just really asked, they just came out the gate. And they should have expected that, in my opinion.
Yeah. Did you know that Angela Palermo was the one that was talking about, the questions she asked? I think it was on the 23rd of November. She asked on the press conferences the question about did the killer walk by the two downstairs, the first floor roommates. And the reason why she believed it was the first floor is because I think it was on the 21st. It was like the day after the second press conference. She emailed a question about where the two surviving roommates' bedrooms were. And the answer was that the two surviving roommates' bedrooms were on the first floor. That's what they told her in an email reply.
Really?
So why? Why all the falsehoods, right?
Yeah.
How come?
Yeah.
And of course, Lana, she is the one that set that right.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why all the falsehoods.
Right.
I can only hope that at the end of the day, if there is, things being swept under the rug and there's a lot of corruption, that it's being exposed.
From day one, this has just been bizarre. And when have we ever seen that before? I haven't.
Mm-mm.
This is like once in a lifetime, and that's why I think it's got everybody. I'm not into true crime, but this is kind of what drew me in, is this case.
I can see why. It's a traditional whodunit.
I got this whole tablet. It's full, and I got pages. I'm just taking notes, watching your and everybody else's.
Taking it all in. Interesting. I love hearing from people like you because obviously I can't watch everything. I can't possibly take in everything, And that's why I like to open up the calls and get your guys' input every now and then because I miss tons of stuff, It's hard to keep up because I'm not just covering this case. I'm covering, a lot of different things going on. So I appreciate this. And I wanted to just throw a couple things at you before I let you go.
Yes.
And I'd love to have you, call back in again and do this again.
I'll be happy to.
The DoorDash driver. Who do we think? What do you think about that? Because the timing is weird.
It has something to do with this. I don't think it's random. Is that a way to get the door open? Or had the murders already occurred and you just need to, tell a story about 4 o'clock hour?
Yeah.
Right?
Incorporate that in with the 4 o'clock between 4 and 4:25.
Maybe nobody was even alive in that home at that time.
Because we don't know if the DoorDash people would just drop it and go. I do. When I get it, they drop it at my door and go.
Yeah, I think they would. And I don't think the DoorDash, I don't know. It's not, I don't think it's Brian.
You don't? Okay, that's what people were wondering. If you thought it was Brian. Here's another one for you. How about
there's such a digital link to the crime, you all know, I'm sure, Chad is very smart. You all know what he majored in, digital forensics and cloud-based technology and
Who
all
did?
this. Brian Kohlberger.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, DoorDash driver. I mean, there's such a digital link to that crime. He wouldn't do the crime and be the DoorDash driver as well.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think so either. But
and try to get away with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you may as well just say, "Hey, it's me."
Just hang around and just, with your arms up.
Right,
Wait till noon
right.
the following,
I just feel like the timing is weird, but it could be just something that was incorporated, like you said. Because if the ring evidence, like if that ring footage was real, I mean, the time is going to be on that. And then you have the body cam of them harassing those kids walking through the field. I mean, there's evidence on that. And if that scream is real, the FBI can definitely enhance that and figure that out.
I'm thinking there might be something with that patrol that was posted right there. That's at the base of them steps. You all know, right?
Yeah.
Those steps lead right up to the King Road house, right up that hill.
Mm-hmm. Literally right behind there. What's
the odds? Are they trying to keep the area clean so that this crime can?
Well,
I'm really good. By the way, if I were to cut myself, I'd probably bleed blue. I back the blue. Guys.
Me too.
Yeah.
I don't back the corrupt blue,
Right.
And there's corruption in every field, everywhere. And unfortunately, these little towns, it tends to happen. I mean, look at Murdaugh.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect example. How many decades of corruption was just blown out of the water because of a murder?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the corruption in these small towns, especially these guys, it seems like they all go to the college and then they all get jobs either in the county, the city, or the college. And they all pretty much are connected and they run it. It's like I don't know. It's a weird environment. I can't imagine living in that environment. That's very strange because the police seem like, they're kind of, run by the university. So, I was looking at their salaries and I was just kind of floored. I was like that Chris Bragg. I don't know what happened to him. He was the one in the undies body cam where the girl found her undies in her cup holder.
Mm-hmm.
And he's no longer on their website or anything. But he was making almost $70,000 as a patrol officer. And that just seems like a lot to me. But maybe that's the norm. I don't know.
This, right off the bat, the community has nothing to worry about. This is an isolated, targeted attack. And to me, isolated, targeted, that's like when a husband kills a wife. That's isolated and targeted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Random, as opposed to what? Isolated and targeted, what's the... I don't think I'd say opposite, but what is the alternative of isolated, targeted? Would it be random?
That's what I would take it as, random.
Yeah, with Jack the Ripper, is that that's random. I mean, ultimately, everyone's targeted, but Jack the Ripper, BTK, that's all random. That's random, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so for BTK, he saw somebody that he fancied and watched them, followed them.
Yeah,
but it's a random person because they don't have any personal dealings. That's
Yeah.
how I think of random.
Right.
The girl would have no clue who this person is.
Right.
Yep. But they say targeted. But then they said, we don't know if it was the house or the people in it.
What does that even mean, the house?
What the hell is that?
Targeted the house.
Why didn't they burn the house down if they wanted to target the house? What are you talking about? Or does he mean they thought someone else lived there? Not
just get a gun and blow everybody away, too. But, it has to be a knife so that you get away with it. So whoever did this, that speaks volumes to me.
Mm-hmm.
As well.
What are your thoughts on it being like cartel related, with it being such a brutal killing versus
somebody could have
guns?
been hired to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they don't think it's going to happen to anybody else. That's just a bizarre thing to say. the community's safe, and it's an isolated, targeted attack. So that means that it's not a Jack the Ripper or a BTK. That's what that tells me, and that's how I interpret it.
And it tells me that they know who or what the target was.
Right, and I'm just a lay person. So when you're giving a press conference and you're speaking to the community, you're just talking, I'm not an expert, nor is the community. So you got to speak down to their level. So if I think that when you say it's isolated, targeted, it's not a serial killer, and who do you end up with? You end up with Brian Kohlberger, a would-be serial killer. He's going to school, and this is the narrative that they're trying to push out there. He's going to school to learn how to be the who's who of serial killers. He's not to be outdone by the likes of BTK. He wants to be more infamous than that. Isn't that the message you all have received through all of this time? Am I right, or am I onto something? Or
yeah, you're right. No, you're right.
Right. So now that they ended up with a serial killer, well, now you just got to work overtime and paint him as malicious and as malignant as possible. And that's what the media is doing. And are they doing it for free? Do they work for free?
No.
No. I mean, Banfield is spending a lot of her time and energy maligning this guy.
Yeah.
You got to ask yourself, how come that is? I ask myself, why? She's getting money to do this, so.
Well, ratings. I mean, they do it just for like any YouTuber. I'm sure if you've, been following all the different channels that talk about this case, that you can pick out the ones that are clickbaiters, the ones that are, putting, false information or maybe exaggerating information for views.
Well, I think my point is that because you ended up with a would-be serial killer, you have to get him convicted before he even has a trial. Because he's not your guy.
You say that definitively.
Well, I'm hoping it.
Why? I mean, can I ask you
I'm
a question?
hoping that he's not. I'm hoping Dylan is not, and Bethany is not.
But that
I
means
can't
that there's
say for sure.
there's a murderer or murderers out there.
Of course, yeah. And even though Stephen Paddock was shot in that Mandalay Bay hotel, that doesn't mean that the murderer is now deceased, right?
Right.
He could still be out there, the murderer or murderers. I wonder how many weapons were used to do these 4 killings.
I don't know, but what if Brent was part of it?
He could be. I mean, what is he, 36?
30-something, living on campus? Like what?
Right. That's out of place.
Very out of place.
What's the story on that? Is he going to school?
No. I heard through, rumor that he was a security guard at the college, but I've never been able to find anything, to prove that. I've never seen him associated with anything.
Would he have roommates? 2 of them?
That's what they said, roommates.
Roommates?
Mm-hmm.
3-bedroom apartment.
And they got the roommates out and right away. So do you believe that he's dead? Or do you think that when they said I've
watched chat, yeah. That's an interesting theory. He's still alive, possibly.
Yeah, in the very beginning of the SWAT audio, I went to Broadcastify and downloaded it, that incident, and then I sat there, oh my gosh, Eddie, I sat there, and I cut out all the silence. And I took it from 9 hours to 5 hours. And in the very beginning, they say we have a suicidal call on a protected person. And then it went into the SWAT with Brent. And I was like, protected person? What? And then they said that he had a suicidal call, in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went on to the shenanigans with the cappuccinos and the can you get my coat and all that bullshit. I don't know if you heard it.
Yes, it did.
It just seemed like I mean, not even a practice drill. I would think a practice drill would be more serious than that. So that confused the hell out of me. They said it started at 8:30 p.m. They didn't evacuate people till 3 in the morning. I mean, none of it makes sense.
Right, you can't get on the phone with them and like have someone try to negotiate with them, talk to them.
Yeah, I listened to that whole SWAT, and I heard them say, "Oh, we have a negotiator on tonight," but I never heard anything about the negotiator talking to him. Nothing. It was just the weirdest thing, and I just
It's all unbelievable.
I feel like he's some kind of informant, and I think he's the protected person. And
Look at Brian doing his homework there. I mean,
I know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, who knows? He might be, he might not be that good of a guy. Who can say? But it doesn't make him a murderer. I just hope he has a fair,
I just hope that they have a lot of, stuff to back this up. If they're going to say it was targeted on one specific person and the others were, collateral damage, so to speak, I hope they have evidence of that. Because if these people all didn't know him and never saw him and never, had any weird run-ins with him, then that's random to me.
Right. That's just, it's not natural to go to school across the country and then target a house and you're going to try to murder everybody in the house on the side while getting, your good grades and pursuing your career.
Yeah. I know. I have a hard time with it. And you know what else I have a hard time with is that there was a lot of weird things and bad things happening before he allegedly moved there. Like the stabbing in 2021 of the couple in their apartment.
Was that in Washington or Oregon?
It was in Oregon, yeah. But it was the same time, 3. Remember, they were all 3, and then all of a sudden they changed this case to 4. But all of them were 3 a.m. That one was that couple was going on a trip, and they had someone in the guest room to stay to watch the cat, and they heard the commotion and called 911, and the person took off. So it's just, there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on out there in Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. So, it could be unrelated, but it's the time, the 3 a.m. But I guess that would be the time when you would sneak attack someone. So, again, you got to take it all in, right?
Yeah, that's right. Like a typical news watcher, as soon as they gave us the name Brian Kohlberger, I was all in. I'm like, wow, they got the murderer. And I believed that for a good long time. But as time went on, I'm like, well, wait a minute, hold up. Because right before we had Brian Kohlberger, I believe it was Jack DeCour right about that time. No, it might have even been Hunter Johnson, too, somebody. Now, I can't rule any of these people out either. I wasn't there. But in the very early going, it was Jack Showalter. Everybody had him hung, right? Mm-hmm. And then little time went by, and pretty soon it was all these RSOs that live in the area. There's 11 of them, these sex criminals. So, surely it's got to be one of them. And then, this Jeremy has inserted himself into the case. He's a neighbor giving interviews. It's got to be him. And we just kept going one to the next. Anytime, and we all have these are just bad pieces to this puzzle. They don't fit, but we just arrange them as we get them, and we try to make them fit. And sometimes they're facing wrong side up, and they're like, okay, I finished my puzzle, and it doesn't even make sense. But we're like, okay, so how come we're so quick to be satisfied with Brian Kohlberger? It could be just another wrong piece to this puzzle, but we want desperately to make that puzzle complete, and it could be that it's not him too. That's the way
this guy, Christian Martinez. Yeah. He says he's Brian Kohlberger's Washington neighbor, and he is really smiley. Who is he?
Who is Christian Martinez?
He said he's Brian's Washington neighbor. I'm just rolling
this guy.
Yeah, I'm just, yeah.
What does he say about him?
I don't know. I didn't play it. Let me see. I just been rolling this in slow mode while we've been talking.
It's got to be bad news, I'm sure. They're not going to allow any good news.
Well,
to be
let's see. I'll have to share the link to this because it's law and crime. I can play a little bit of it, but they like to strike.
Yeah.
But let me play and see what this dude says. Now I'm curious. All right, hold up. You probably won't be able to hear it until it's on YouTube. So if you want to I don't know, you can listen on YouTube, I guess.
Koberger's majors, the years he completed each program, and confirmed he was always a commuter student.
DeSales is just such a close-knit and heartfelt community. Like I said, everybody knows each other, and the fact that really no one knows about this guy, he went in and out.
It's a common theme in Koberger's past, leaving behind little clues about his isolated personality. Multiple people who knew Koberger tell us he was strange but hardly memorable.
He was kind of awkward, but I feel like you can't just write someone off as being crazy just because they're a little awkward, you know?
Just months after his...
Hey, it actually wasn't bad. He said you can't write people off for being a little awkward.
Yeah, I'm sure he's a little awkward. Yeah.
But awkward doesn't mean...
That I do buy, yeah. And see, I was talking earlier about... They could probably know that, profiling, you know. So he's kind of like the ideal guy to put this on.
But why was he detained, though, on August the 21st by officers in his traffic stop? That's what I want to know. August the 21st. He would have been new to the area still.
And they're not releasing that, right? That's part of the case.
Part of the... Yeah, I got an email back. Sorry, Charlie. But it does say detained, which is interesting. So that means they held him, but they didn't arrest him. Oh, wait, this dude's speaking again. Now he's laughing. Hold on. Let's listen to Martinez is back.
It seems like they don't have any leads. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, there's not much about it, you know? There's nothing, I have no details really to say. But yeah, and then he's like, yeah, it seems like they think it was a crime of passion. Those were the two things he said, was that they had no leads and they think it was a crime of passion.
On top of that, Koberger may have had a fascination with death or killing.
So apparently he talked to Brian.
The subject of what it would take to take someone's life. It was kind of like he was trying to see my perspective on, I guess, taking someone's life.
After the pair...
Wait, I've never heard this story. He showed texts. Have you seen this?
No, never.
Wait, to Brian. The top, that looks fake. It says, it's Christian. This is July 8th. So he's saying Brian was in Washington in July. It's Christian. And then July 9th. Here's the address to where the pool party is. Starts at 2. But me and Gabby are going to get there early to help my buddy move some DJ stuff. Brian goes, thanks. I have to run and get trunks. And then Christian says, right on, dude. And then Brian says the next day, that pool party was an interesting experience. Thanks for the invite. What? Now, who's this guy? Eddie, have you seen this?
No.
Who are these people?
Met Koberger for the first time.
He did seem pretty kind of just socially awkward and kind of...
I'm awkward. We're all black. Carry a
Zach
Glock.
Cartwright. Look at Zach Cartwright. He met him in summer of 2022. Who are these people? Wait, we got more text messages from Christian. Christian goes on about the pool party. Wait.
I would tell her I'm going to invite Brian, because he didn't have any friends. I was trying to bring him out and maybe meet people he can, relate to. But she was always like, no, please don't. There was just something about him that she didn't like.
In recalling their conversations after Koberger's arrest, some key points stick out.
I guess looking back, it's kind of funny because he was talking about how, what was he? He was talking about genealogy because I was talking about the 23andMe because my sister had just did all that, and then he brought up
Creep
something
town,
similar in his
dude.
studies that had to do with like being able to catch criminals because of their relatives' DNA, which is I guess how he got caught up in his mix.
The probable cause affidavit released after.
What? I'm gonna have to share this whole link with you guys so you guys can watch it. I
So
can't
yeah,
play it.
Joe was saying here, Jack DeCoeur sure fit the bill, but
Want a lawn that looks like-
Goncalves family vouched for him. And it's funny because before we knew the name Brian Kohlberger, they went to that vigil, and everybody was all about, oh, did you see the way Steve Goncalves looked at Jack DeCoeur on the stage?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, and see, I looked at that, and I'm like, wow. But what I did afterwards is I looked at the entire video. I watched that whole vigil, and, and then now it's in context. See, that's the difference between having a still photo and the whole picture. So after watching it, I'm like, well, okay, I don't get that message out of that look. That look has no meaning now, but because everyone's so desperate to believe, right? They can make any bit of information that they receive, like Brian Kohlberger sorting trash in the middle of the night. Well, then he's a killer because they want to believe that. They already believe it. So no matter what he does now, it's going to make they're going to make that in their mind fit that narrative.
They have to.
Yeah, well, that's what people do.
Yeah.
Because you want to be right?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, that's what they do. They come up with a narrative, and then they piece the evidence to fit that narrative.
we're all guilty of it. We don't want to be wrong. What I said was right, and
yeah,
even if you're presented with the truth, this is what goes back to what I was saying, a while ago. It's unlikely to get you off of that lie. Once
it's
you
very
believe.
difficult. Yeah, for most people. Mm-hmm.
Because pride.
Pride, and yeah, they don't want to be duped. They don't want to admit that they were duped. Makes them feel stupid.
Yes.
The private driver. Can we talk about him for a sec? He was outed in the Pennsylvania PCA or warrant.
I was late to the party on that, by the way. I watched that video of yours just recently, and I never heard anything about the private driver. Probably because I watched that Olivia video, and there was music, and it was too loud. Background music in her video, so I probably just turned it off early.
Oh, did she talk about the private driver?
In the video, yeah. So when I watched your podcast, like one of your more recent ones, and it spoke about the private driver and the ambulance. And I'm like, where have I been? I thought I was like one of the most informed on this case, and here I am just learning about the private driver.
Yeah. I mean, when I was reading through that warrant when we were live, I was like, whoa, they left the name in here. Because there were several things in there that weren't in the original PCA. That we were like, whoa, wait, I don't remember hearing that. They didn't redact like Idaho did. And this Eric, so I kind of did some research, and it looks like he works for UI as well. And he works for the Upward Bound program, which seems to be something along the lines of him visiting, high schools and bringing in the underprivileged kids that, can't afford college, the low income kids, giving them a chance to go to school. So he visits the outlying colleges all around the state of Idaho to get students for this Upward Bound. And he's also a private driver, I guess. So I don't know if they implemented this private drive thing, if it was something they always had safe rides, or if it was after the knife incident on Paradise Path. You remember the sorority girls were approached by a man with a knife?
Is that the bicycle knife guy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
He came forward too, I think, early in the investigation.
But who comes forward? You're going to go to the Moscow police and go, hey, that was me.
Oh, yeah, that was me on the bike. I didn't do these killings. Yeah, I'd come forward. What if they found you? You'd look
but
more.
they said he came forward before the murders.
Oh. Well,
And I was like, what? Like, who does that? Who does something like that? And
Well, I
then,
wonder if there was a second knife incident then, because I could have swore I remember learning that, and it's probably in one of these press releases that I have, but that the knife guy came forward.
he did.
I could be wrong.
But I thought that he came forward before the murders, if I wasn't mistaken in my research. But I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. But it's neither here nor there. I don't know if the safe rides, when they were put into place.
Right.
Do you? I don't know if that was something
No,
ongoing at the college or. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, he it's interesting because from what I could tell, and I don't know if this is fact, this is just my research, just like you said, your research. It appears that his wife works for the city of Moscow as well, or for the no, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. That's Gunderson's wife. Gunderson's wife works for UI. Who was I talking about before? I'm getting these people confused.
Is it Chief Fry's wife? Is that?
She's the clerk.
So
yeah, Julie Fry's the clerk. The driver, the private driver. His wife works for, I want to say, the police department. But they're all intertwined. I can't keep it straight. Did you say something? I'm sorry.
No, it is so much.
So I just didn't, and they said that Kaylee knew him. The girls knew the driver, is what they kept saying. After the fact. They knew him. So how did they know him? From the school,
Right.
from the Upward Bound program?
Now I feel like I need to rewatch your video about the private driver.
Yeah, because I'm okay. So BB Mommy just backed me up. She said the driver works at the school and the wife does work for MPD.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, she's the one. Actually, you know what? Her name's Katie, and she goes by her maiden. And she also was a reporter for the D News. You know, the D News website that we get all our articles from?
Yeah.
She was a reporter for them. And now works for Moscow, and she is the records girl. So when I do FOIA requests and they come from Katie, it's her. She's the one releasing the records, the private driver's wife. It's all just so connected and bizarre.
Releasing the records in the Moscow Police Department?
Correct. So when you do a records request and you get your email back, it's from her. She's attaching the files. She's the administrative record, or she's the records girl.
Okay.
And Fry's wife is the clerk for Latah County. Annie just asked. She's the clerk for Latah County. So she's actually on some of the documents for the court filings.
Okay.
The arrest warrant, she filed that, I believe. Yeah, she's listed on as the filing clerk on some of those docs.
Okay.
But she met Fry at UI. He went there as well. And then, they graduated and whatever. He did. But he ended up the chief. And, yeah.
Well, you sleuths can look into this.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate your info. And
who's Rachel Doniger? That's the Moscow Police Communications Team. Rachel Doniger. Doniger.
oh, I don't know. That's a new one for me. The one I'm talking about is Katie Short.
The only reason I ask it is because that's who gave Angela Palermo the baloney about the two surviving roommates being on the first floor.
Oh, interesting. Hey, one other thing I wanted to bring up to you was,
why did they lie about that?
Was the at the press conference, the one lady stood up and she said, "Have you been able to verify that this was not a female attacker?" And then she also said, "And have you verified that the knife didn't come from ROTC?" And she was pretty much shut down.
See, she was...
And I don't know
Yeah,
who the lady was. Somebody said she was a TikTok person, and they called her a fake reporter in the mainstream news. The mainstream news didn't like her. And I thought it was interesting. And I'm like, how interesting. ROTC's brought up. Were any of these frat boys?
I don't think she was on the 16th. It was either the 20th or the 23rd on that one. Probably
She was the later one, yeah.
Yep, I think so.
Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to get your opinion on that because that's something that's always kind of stuck with me was the ROTC thing with the, you know, the Marine insignia knife. That
Yeah, and I really challenge if and I'm former military too. They don't issue knives, so
oh,
ROTC
they don't.
Certainly would. No,
like ROTC people wouldn't have knives.
No, even Strat Army units. If you want a knife like that, you're buying it. They're not issuing.
It's more of a layperson's knife then.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't issue anything. You want something, you're buying it. You're spending your own money for it. So certainly ROTC wouldn't issue a knife.
Okay. So you don't think
Nor
the
have them.
ROTC is a...
No.
Yeah. All right.
No, I don't know, if they have any weapons for drill and ceremony or not. But it's doubtful if they did that they would even have bayonets to attach to them. I doubt it.
Interesting aspect, though. All right,
Yeah,
Eddie. Well, I appreciate your call, and I've taken a lot of your time, but I do appreciate being able to pick your brain,
Yeah, I was worried about even getting 3 minutes in the early going.
No, I actually put off a couple callers because I really was interested in what you had to say. So I really appreciate it, and I'm sorry if I, took up a lot of your time, but you were definitely an interesting caller, and I appreciate you.
Thank you, Jay.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon.
Everybody. Okay.
Okay, bye, Eddie. Eddie. What a great caller. I'm so sorry if you guys felt put off and didn't get a chance to call in, but we can do this again for sure because it sounds like we've had too much time in between these call-ins. So I think we need to do it a little bit more. I'm been reading chat and I'm just like, oh my God, I need to talk to all of you. So I am going to wrap this up and we will do another call in this week. This week's going to be interesting because the Daybell case is starting, the trial for Lori Vallow, but we can't be in the courtroom and watch. So we're going to be doing updates. So we're going to be kind of on standby for anything weird that may happen with that, which I'm sure it will. Par for the course with the Daybell case. But we can do another call-in show this week. I know it's already 9:00. I haven't even eaten dinner, and I had a few things that I wanted to show you guys still. I know. I need to have you guys. Maybe you guys want to do another call-in tomorrow? We can do that tomorrow. And I'll show you guys the rest so I can wrap up what I wanted to show so I'm not like stressed about it. So let's go over to I want to wrap up this court thing and just get this out of the way and show you guys. And then I'm going to go. I have to go to the store and I got to get something to eat. Yo, BB Mommy, you're awesome. You guys are all awesome. You guys are all great sleuthers. This is just going back to the case where Gunderson is accused of holding that evidence, that body cam. Defendants Jay Waters, Shane Gunderson, and Mitch Nunez are police officers at all relevant times. We're acting under the color of state law. And defendants Waters, Gunderson, and Nunez are sued individually and in their official capacities. And then this is just a rundown. They, like I said, plaintiff, the Rory Wilson, they didn't read him as Miranda. I mean, they didn't do the right things. They interrogated them and just didn't do the right things by them. So there's that. And then Gunderson and Nunez. While plaintiff Rory was being detained by defendants Gunderson and Nunez, plaintiff SJW was moved away from his brother and placed on the squad car's brush guard, where he was interrogated and threatened with a felony conviction by defendant Waters. For prolonged periods of time and in an effort to harass and intimidate the juvenile, defendant Waters positioned his tactical flashlight directly in plaintiff SJW's face. True and correct images of defendant Waters shining his flashlight during the officer's interrogation appear below. This image was taken from the video that defendants initially suppressed and failed to timely disclose to plaintiffs. And then 1 year later, after multiple settlement offers, the city was receiving public pressure due to its discriminatory and selective enforcement of its ordinances against plaintiffs and selective treatment of members of the Christ Church in general. And while prosecutors were preparing for a suppression hearing, it was discovered by the city police department that they had the video accurately named and filed in its possession the entire time. The evidence log was also revealed that city officers, including Waters, had viewed the video in the interim. There's only a couple more slides. More specifically, when Keith Scholl and defendant Warner were preparing Gunderson to testify at a suppression hearing held in October of 21, defendant Gunderson stated he was unable to answer a question about the night the boys were detained, so he would have to check the video. Mr. Scholl was shocked because the city police department was adamant that no such video existed. Mr. Scholl immediately notified plaintiff's defense counsel, asserting that he, Mr. Scholl, was unaware of this evidence. Defendant Warner was present for the meeting and also advised that she has not seen this footage. Careful phrasing. The log and testimony later revealed that all three defendant officers had viewed the video and were fully aware of its existence. Defendant Gunderson later asserted that he believed the existence of the video to have been common knowledge and that it had been correctly filed and labeled in the city police department's system. In other words, the non-existing video was in fact filed right along with the audio video that had been discovered. The video was eventually disclosed to the plaintiffs. However, no audio was provided, therefore enabling the defendant police officers to deny under oath what both boys claim they said during interrogations. During sworn testimony, the officers admitted that no Miranda warnings were given. They also incorrectly testified that a Fourth Amendment seizure detention did not take place because, per the city's training of the officers, a Fourth Amendment seizure detention doesn't occur until a suspect is taken to jail, and the two boys were not taken to jail. They were released at the scene. So this is all dirty. Defendant Nunez and Gunderson testified falsely about their motivation for handcuffing Rory. With this falsity would have been proven had the audio been produced. The officers also handcuffed Rory at approximately 19 seconds into their conversation, and this fits Rory's description of events. In short, the handcuffing was punitive and an intimidation technique. They also, as was keeping him squatting against a wall, they had him squatting against a wall when they finally removed the handcuffs. A true and correct picture of plaintiff Rory being forced to squat against the wall appears below. I don't like what he's wearing on his face. Why is he wearing that? I thought this dude was arrested for praying. I thought they were at like a prayer thing. Why is he wearing a mask? What is going on? Weird. That's strange, isn't it? I feel like I'm missing like a part of this story because I thought it was a peaceful psalm sing. Why is he dressed like that? I know. I'm so hungry, you guys. I have so much more. We'll have to do another one. Because these guys, I mean, all of this matters, you guys, because Officer Nunez body camera showed that the dog was in the room when Moscow police initially responded. So Nunez was there first. And so was, what's his face? This guy. Gunderson or whatever. Gunderson was the first one there. And then there was Smith and Nunez. Interesting. All right. Well, we're going to close this out. Yeah, Smith, Gunderson, and Nunez. Annie Potts says the sheath better be on Nunez body cam since he went to the third floor. Right. All right. We will do a call in tomorrow. 100%. And Mary, we can talk more about this because I thought it was the prayer. So we're going to have to get deeper into this because this is a lot to take in. So, but yeah, this is Stickergate part 1, I guess. So we'll do Stickergate part 2 tomorrow. Thank you for being here, guys. Thanks for following me over from J is for Justice and Dance It Out J is for Justice style right now. And we will be adding to the sticker book as we go through this mess. Everybody take care. Have a great Monday morning. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Get some rest. Stop watching YouTube. Good night, guys.
I don't give a damn. I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. You talk way too much. I have heard enough about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. 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 You wanna be with me. You wanna feel something real, but I'm feeling differently. You're making plans to get to friends, but don't wanna face the fact that I ain't got time for that. Staying up late, sleeping all day, dreaming about Cadillacs. Buying new shoes, hanging by the pool. What? Coke and Jack. Calling my phone when you feel alone, but I'll never call you back. I ain't got time.
Ooh, that will scare somebody.